Hi, Anthony Smith here, COO of EMF Safe. We are the American manufacturers of the UL listed EMF Safe Switch. Dan Everson, our CEO, is the inventor of the original EMF kill switch, the EMF sleep switch, and now in its present form, the EMF Safe Switch. This is a remote cutoff device for your home that allows you to switch off unwanted EMF, allowing you to create an EMF mitigated sleep sanctuary. We empower you to safely switch off and be in control of the EMF in your home. Welcome to the Experts Interview Series. Enjoy. And it's my pleasure to have Oram Miller on the Zoom call with us today for an interview. Oram has very graciously agreed to spend a little bit of time with us and share information that he has. Oram is a building biology environmental consultant. He is an electromagnetic radiation specialist. And you see his website address down below for any of you that like to get in touch with him. And Oram, I think you're based in Los Angeles, but I think you cover a much larger area than Los Angeles for people who would like to get in touch with you.
I do. Thank you, Anthony, for inviting me to have this conversation with you today, and thanks to Dan as well, the inventor of the EMF Safe Switch.
Absolutely.
It's my honor to chat with you today. Thank you.
So, Oram, not everybody knows about you. Almost everybody in the EMF world knows about you, but we've got a lot of new people coming in as EMF is affecting more and more people. So give a little bit of your background, if you wouldn't mind, just for a few minutes to kind of give people an idea of the number of years you've been doing this, how you got into it, just so they know who you are and why they should listen to what you have to say.
Thank you. So I've been a building biologist for almost 20 years. I have a biology background, but I focused on this because the building biology profession looks at the sustainable movement that's going on in the world from the standpoint of health. The building biology profession actually originated in Germany in the 1980s. So our job is to identify mold in the building biology profession and the building trade and public health and mold inspectors. And then we recommend non-toxic fungicides. So that's a whole nother topic. But 11 years ago, I decided I just wanted to focus on EMFs. And so in terms of EMFs, that stands for electromagnetic fields. And the building biology profession recognizes four types of fields: magnetic fields from power lines and house wiring, electric fields from power lines and house wiring, radio frequencies from cell phones, Wi-Fi, and then outdoor sources coming into the house from cell towers, and then dirty electricity, which is nothing more than the first two at higher frequencies. It's magnetic and electric fields at higher frequencies, higher than the 60 cycles per second of the sine wave, which is the standard frequency, the fundamental frequency, and the strongest component in terms of voltage on the spectrum analyzer of the frequencies in the room. So the electric field from house wiring is the highest and strongest when you take a measurement with an oscilloscope and spectrum analyzer. And then the dirty electricity is lower. It's always lower in terms of the strength of the field coming out several feet into the room.
We hear a lot about dirty electricity and very, very little about electric fields. So from what you've just said, and you've got the expensive equipment to measure all these things scientifically, what percentage is electric field versus the percentage of dirty electricity?
Good question. So you have to understand, everyone needs to understand that the magnetic and electric fields are present for all four of these. In other words, all four things that I mentioned: magnetic fields and electric fields from house wiring, dirty electricity, or radio frequencies, and dirty electricity. That's sort of the order that I put them in arbitrarily. These two are at 60 cycles per second. That's the frequency of house wiring that it comes in from every utility in North America, 50 cycles per second in Europe and the rest of the world. Radio frequencies are way up. They're at the other end of the spectrum. These are low frequency or extra low frequency band. Now, the electric fields and magnetic fields are back down here at 60 cycles per second. And then we have dirty electricity, which is starts with a fundamental frequency, and then you have its harmonics. And the fundamental frequency could be 60 hertz, but it could be 20,000 hertz, like from solar panels. That's the fundamental frequency. And then you have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 hertz. And you can see those spikes on the spectrum analyzer. That's the pattern. You have a fundamental frequency, and then you have the harmonics, the transient voltages. So it's those transient voltages that cause an electric and a magnetic field to come off of the wire that affects human health. But in the radio frequency band from cell phones and Wi-Fi, there is RF radio frequencies are nothing more than electric and magnetic fields coming off together, but it hundreds of millions and billions of cycles per second. And then dirty electricity is back down from 60 or whatever the fundamental frequency is, and can go up to thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of cycles per second. But it's much, much less as it goes up the frequency. So all of it is EMFs, but only the first two are in the extra low frequency band at 60 hertz. And then the dirty electricity is in the ELF and VLF and LF bands. And then all RF is up in the HF high frequency bands. So you have to know what frequency range you're in. And then, so we have the 4 EMFs that we deal with. Then we have outdoor sources of EMFs that come into buildings. And then we have indoor sources that people don't pay attention to as much. And then we have nighttime and daytime EMFs. And then we have people who are electrically sensitive and people who are not electrically sensitive. That's the way that I break it down, because each of those 6 different things interacts differently for people, and for the same people at different times, and also for different people, depending on, and some people start off not being sensitive and then they become sensitive. With that background, there's 2 understanding. There's another thing. There's what the EMF community knows and what we say in the building biology profession. So that's a 4th thing that I have to take into account, because every job I go to, the clients who call me up on the phone, we talk about this, and especially when I get to the house, and I'll spend 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at a home doing my evaluation, standard evaluation. So the first hour or 2 is spent at the dining table going over what EMFs are, where they come from, how they affect your health, and what we do about them. And so what I do is I field questions and I lay this out. And what people in the EMF community in general know is, in no particular order, the following 4 things: 5G and smart meters, meaning outdoor RF sources. Number 2, dirty electricity, Stetzer meters, Stetzer filters, greenwave filters, and meters, plug-in meters and plug-in filters, dirty electricity. Number 3, chips and pendants and home harmonizers. And then number 4, earthing mats. That's what people know in the EMF community. It's all relevant. Now, we have our 4: magnetic fields, electric fields, radio frequencies, and dirty electricity. Well, we have overlap there for the radio frequencies and dirty electricity. Radio frequencies and then dirty electricity, okay? And so we find hardwired connections for voice communications, for email, for texting, for the streaming on their TV, thermostats, baby monitors, surveillance cameras, and so on. Everything can be hardwired. We just have to figure out how to do that and how to get other people in the family on board with that. You can use these cell phones when you go out, but when you're home, we want you to use hardwired connections, and we can do that. So electric fields, we have nighttime electric field exposure and we have daytime electric field exposure. So there's 2 separate considerations with that. With electric fields at night, so electric fields, I call them the unknown EMF. I've called them that for about 10 years now. And I say that because nobody talks about them. And I have clients who say, Oram, I checked my EMFs in my bedroom. And I say, all right. And I know what's coming. I haven't been there yet, but they say, oh, we don't have to worry about that. And I said, okay, what did you check it with? Well, I with my Gauss meter. Now that means that they used a magnetic field detector, and they measure the M of EMF. And you don't often have magnetic fields, especially in a 2nd story bedroom, okay, unless you have wiring errors, but wiring errors go away when you turn off the loads. So most wiring errors are in lighting loads. Lights go off at night, no magnetic fields. And the second most common source of magnetic fields, other than power lines, which is not as common, but the three indoor sources of magnetic fields, power lines is outside. Wiring errors, current on water pipes, and point sources like transformers and motors. So the second most common indoor source of magnetic fields is current on the water pipe or the TV cable. That's on the first floor. So up on the second floor, you don't have magnetic fields. So no, they're not going to find EMFs, but they missed the electric fields. And I say, well, did you check the electric field? They said, I checked the EMFs with my Gauss meter. I said, right. No, you didn't. Yes, good. And we need to know that. But you didn't check the second EMF, the E of EMF, the electric fields. And they say, what's that? So when I start off the day, I go over what EMFs are, which ones we recognize, how they affect your health, and what we do about them. So magnetic fields are from current flowing down a wire. Other than a point source like a transformer or motor, where it's more like a mushroom coming out and it drops off exponentially with distance, like within a few feet, it's gone. And 90% is reduced in the first foot or 18 inches, depending on whether it's a refrigerator motor or a transformer or whatever. But electric fields are from voltage. They're from the pressure of electricity, not the flow of electricity, because the flow of electricity varies. It's either on or it's off. And if it's on, it's going to be higher or low, depending on how much current you have flowing. But voltage is either there or it's not. And it's usually always there. And it's 120 volts all the time. And we're not talking about DC currents or low voltage cables. Although low voltage cabling can carry electric fields, we'll get to that in daytime EMF exposure or electric field exposure. But at night, we're talking primarily about the electric field from the 120 volts that's carried on the hot wire of the circuit in the wall and the cord you plug in. So there's two sources of electric fields in sleeping environments. There's what's behind the wall and what is plugged in. And electric fields consistently come out, and they don't drop off logarithmically, they drop off linearly. So 6 to 8 feet before you get to zero. And you never get to zero, but before you get to the point where you don't have any more that you can measure from that piece of Romex non-metallic circuit, that plastic circuit that's in the wall going from outlet to outlet. I literally have clients, Anthony, who say, I put my bed right between the plugins and I have no EMFs. I say, okay, but the electric field doesn't come from the outlet. They call it a plug-in, but it's the outlet. It comes from the voltage on the black insulated hot wire of that circuit, unless you have metal clad wiring.
Other than those areas, the majority of houses in the country don't have metal clad wiring. And so every wire in every wall, floor, and ceiling is actually putting out a field 6 to 8 feet. And of course, you could have not just the wire that's feeding the outlets in that room and the lights in that room. You could have other wires running through the walls, floors, and ceilings under the bed, going to other parts of the house. But those wires, even though the outlets have nothing to do with the bedroom, are also putting out a field. So the only way to know this, of course, is to have somebody like you come in and measure, or for them to use not just a Gauss meter for the magnetic fields, but we have the body voltage kit, which measures the electric fields. The only way anybody's going to know what they've got going on in their home is to measure.
That is right. That brings up a good point. All four of these EMFs are invisible, silent, and odorless, unlike cigarette smoke. So you don't know that they're there unless you feel them, in which case you are electrically sensitive, which is a small percentage of the population. And it's not true that everyone's going to end up like them. I have this conversation with people who are electrically sensitive who are convinced that everyone in their family is going to end up like them sooner or later. And that's not true. And I gently, respectfully try and help them to understand that. But we still try to first of all, we have to do whatever's necessary for them to be better. And that may include their spouses and their kids, teenagers and other people living in the house, dropping back on their cell phone use, at least around the symptomatic person. Anyway, so electric fields are, nobody talks about them in the EMF community outside of us and a handful of other people, Jeremy Johnson and there are others, Josh Del Sol. Well, actually, in part because of us, because of me. The interviews that I've done, and I helped with the writing of the solutions chapter for Dr. McCullough's book and Lloyd Burrell's book and Nick Pinot's book. And I worked with Josh Del Sol in creating the 7 steps to creating a healthy house. So in all cases, emphasizing the electric fields. So the word is getting out there, thankfully. So the point is, people need to not just pay attention to the RF that's coming in from outside. And at the same time, they have to pay attention to the 14 sources of radio frequency that they have in their home, okay, that they need to deal with.
You have to turn
on your... So as far as electric fields, there are these 2 sources that we talked about. What the EMF safe switch does that you guys sell is to cut that off easily, remotely, with a press of a button from the bedroom at the beginning of sleep. And so that all night long, you sleep like you're camping. And then in the morning, you press the button and power comes back on and you're good to go. And you wake up more refreshed. So let me explain that. So this electric fields come out 6 to 8 feet from the hot wire, the hot conductor, which carries the 120 volts of pressure of every circuit that's within 6 or 8 feet of the bed, and all cords that are plugged in. When you turn that off, I have electricians who say to me, there's nothing there anymore. And they're right in terms of current. But I say, take your stick, your voltage stick that you carry in your pocket, and I carry in my pocket as a building biologist, and all of our students do. And you put the tip of that on that plastic wire. It'll beep and it'll light up, indicating that there's 120 volts in there. Beep, 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 beep. It tells you that thing is live. Then you unplug it, and then there's no beep.
We have something in our body voltage kit, which we call the E-pen. And we managed to find one. Actually, it was one of your videos that I was watching. I thought we've got to include that in our kit.
Yeah.
But we were able to find one that will pick up a field 2 to 3 feet away. And so though is that you can point the pen at a light or the toaster that's plugged in, and it goes beep, beep, beep. But if you hold it in your other hand and then you reach out and touch the toaster, it's going through your body. And we've got a video on our website where there's 4 people in a line, and it goes. So that really lets people know exactly what you're talking about, and how important it is to have this equipment to measure and be able to not just see it, but feel it and understand it.
So Anthony, there's 2 ways of measuring electric fields. One is with the body voltage method, and the other one is a freestanding electric field meter that measures in volts per meter. So I'll get to that in just a second. So just let me, if I can finish. So we have this electric field coming out 6 or 8 feet. So when people turn off the light of that lamp, the cord is still hot. And we know that for 3 reasons. One, because our body voltage meter and the freestanding electric field meters show it. Number one. Number two, one of these E-pens, electric field pens, or a circuit alert, that's a trade name that one company uses, and other companies that you could. It's not the outlet tester. You need one of those too, because you need to make sure that your outlet is grounded for certain mitigation tools to reduce electric fields, particularly in the daytime. But this pen or this stick will light up. And then the third way, which you never want to do, but just to prove the point, if you took a pair of scissors and you cut across, that live thing, you would never do that because it would cause a flash of light that could burn your eyes and face, before it trips the breaker. But you're causing a dead short from hot to neutral, and the breaker trips. That means it's live. It's got 120 volts of juice in there, which is strong enough to stop your heart. The point is, it's not the shock that we're concerned about. It's the field coming out from the cord that goes into your sleeping space. Now, what does this do to you? So as the field comes out and then it recedes, and then it comes out and then it recedes, it does this 120 times a second. But the field comes out from the wall and then it collapses, and comes out from the wall and then it collapses. But it's alternating with a positive field, then a negative field, positive field, negative field. Now, this comes out 6 or 8 feet, silently, invisibly in your room. Now, when that happens, it sweeps across your body, because most beds are near a wall, within 6 or 8 feet of a wall, either the head or the side or both. It could be in a corner. And then you're getting it from two sides and from underneath as well, from the same circuit or a different circuit. So this field comes out and then it recedes. And as it comes out with a positive polarity, it sweeps across the body, and it doesn't just go on the surface. It goes into the body, and it does affect the functioning of the cells.
What I hear you're saying is that at night, if you've got all of this going on, it's affecting the quality of your sleep. But if you turn it off, then, like you said, when you go camping, you can actually, your body has a chance to recoup and recover and do what it was designed to do. One thing I would like to say, you've got metal clad wiring, but as you said earlier, every light plug, everything plugged into your sockets, those devices are all putting out an electric field into your room. So unless you unplug those things at night, the bedside lamps, you're still getting electric fields from the bedside lamps.
You are absolutely correct. But for even for clients who have the metal clad wiring, I will sometimes recommend the shutoff switch because they have so many cords plugged in all over the place, and just one flip of the switch and they're off. So
exactly.
So everyone so first of all, people in the EMF community who are watching this need to understand you have to pay attention to electric fields for the reasons we're telling you. And number two, you can't just unplug a cord, because that only reduces the electric field by half, because you still have the half coming from the circuit in the wall. And you can't just flip off the breaker for that one. First of all, you don't want to be flipping breakers on and off all night. It's inconvenient, and people are not going to do it half the time. But a lot of the breakers are older, and they're not rated or designed to be flipped for long every night. So that's dangerous.
But by far the vast majority of the houses, the breakers that they have are not switch rated and could actually compromise the integrity of a safety feature of the home if they were to be manually flipping them on and off all the time, which is not something that's advisable.
The problem that I run, it's the two problems that I run into, Anthony, and I'm sure Dan would agree with this, is that half of my clients have breakers that are more than 30 years old, breaker panels, and that those breakers are not switch duty rated. And so they cannot be flipping the breakers manually. I get very nervous when they do that. I say, you gotta hire these local electrician that I work with and have them install a remote switch. So there are all these different angles and layers, to be honest. So your product takes care of a lot of them. There are a few other things that we have to do in addition, but the EMF safe switch does take care of a lot of this. Very, very well, a lot of those components that we deal with.
Now, we again, the difference between the NP and the SP, by disconnecting any ground effects, power quality issues, so-called dirty electricity that might be coming in from the outside or another circuit that you've not turned off at night, because all of the neutrals and the grounds are joined at the bus. So those can be coming in. So on the circuits that are surrounding your bedroom, when you disconnect the neutral and the power line, you've reduced the amount of wires by 50% that might be carrying those, although they are microcurrents. Any of that dirty electricity, we can't by law disconnect the ground. But if you disconnect the neutral, you've reduced the amount of wires carrying that field by 50%. So I think what's going on there.
Yes, and for highly electrically sensitive people, that's a real important benefit.
It does seem to be. We get a lot of testimonies from people saying the NP switch made a big difference over the short period of time that they were just turning off the breakers, just turning off the power.
Everything you do, the quality of your life, which is lived in the daytime and evening when you're awake, is dependent upon the amount of rest you get at night. And the quality of rest is not what it should be in the modern world in the last 100 years because of the electrification.
But Oram, I really appreciate, we've been in it now for a while, and I really appreciate you're obviously an amazing source of information. I highly recommend people go to your website, createhealthyhomes.com. You have got a phenomenal amount of information there for people to look at, and it's information that they can rely upon for all the reasons that you've shared. This is come from years of experience and products that you've tested personally.
Yeah, and just lots of clients, day after day, 6 days a week, for years and years and years. So
yeah. And we would like to thank you as a company, EMF Safe, for recommending our product. And I know you sell quite a few, and you've got clients that have used it, and you're getting good feedback from them, testimonies of how much it's helped them, along with the
very convenient
things that you have recommended to them. So once again, Oram Miller, building biologist. His contact information is there on the website, on our links here. And Oram, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Anthony. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give this knowledge. And thank you for being so dedicated to this, you and Dan in your company. So you're really helping to spread the word and give people something, a real important tool to help make their house and their lives safer and more healthy. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.